Hey, Bill, good morning. How are you?
Mitchell, I'm great. How are you?
Great, great. I love the shirt. It's excellent.
I knew you would comment on the shirt. Look, real men wear flowers. Now, I'm not saying that I would wear it in a Peaky Blinders episode, but it's good for today.
I think so. All right, we got a lot to talk about, and it's a busy, busy day. So let's get started. So, Bill, let's go back to what we ended up on last week's podcast, and that was asking if it was possible for freight forwarders to come together and come up with a collaborative, cooperative solution to the training problems we have. Did you get any news from that yet?
Unfortunately not. I think that what we're going to see here is that companies will choose to do their own thing. I have been pleasantly surprised by some of the things I've found. And in talking to one of our primary client companies about their training programs and their ongoing training programs, I think I mentioned in a previous episode that one of the better companies out there is doing 50 hours training per employee per annum. So that's good. That's a great start. Talking to one of our leading client companies, and they're a $21 billion, 110-year-old company. They're an American company. They are doing 120 hours of training, even for experienced people coming on board. So 120 hours of training. So the first 3 weeks, it doesn't matter how experienced the person is, the first 3 weeks, they're getting that training. And then beyond that, they're doing a pilot program in Chicago, which is their largest global forwarding office, where the individuals will be getting another 60 to 120 hours training per annum per employee. So we're seeing some great initiatives individually, but I don't think we're going to see anything from a collaborative standpoint.
Wow. And then last week, we also talked about major forwarders having apprenticeship programs in their countries, but they don't have it in the United States. Do you know why this is? Is it just a lack of faith in the American people, in our system? Why is that?
It's another great question, Mitchell. So I'm speculating here, right? I'm speculating. And I think that when we look at these large European players, the biggest of the European players, when we look at them and their training programs, their apprenticeship programs back in the US, in their native countries, I think the problem in the US is a geography problem. It's the size of the US. So let's say you're a European freight forwarder and you're headquartered in Switzerland or Germany or Denmark. So you can develop these programs and you can run these programs kind of at a port city. Let's say in Germany, you can do it in Bremen and Hamburg. You could do it in Copenhagen, in Denmark. And you can collaborate then with the educational authorities, maybe to channel some of these people through to the freight forwarding companies and run the training program. And then when the training program's over, they can either be, these people can be used in their head office, or they can be transferred pretty much anywhere within their country. And most of these European countries are relatively small. So, if you're in Switzerland, if you're in Zurich, it's not too big of a deal for you to take a job in Basel. So if you now look at the US and look at the size of the US, where you could take Denmark, and Denmark would fit into most states in the US, right? So I guess the issue then becomes kind of a geographical one. Where would you have the program based? And if you base the program at, let's say, Long Beach in California, what do you do with everybody that comes out of that program? Do they just get jobs in California, or do they move across the country? And a move across the country in the US is very different to a move around the country in most countries in Europe. So that's the only kind of logical reason that I can think that they're not doing this. And again, it may be tied to learning institutions. And so potentially you've got learning institutions in Europe that are more closely tied together, whereas the learning institutions in the US are all separate entities. Each college is a separate entity, which doesn't mean to say that it wouldn't work, let's say, for an online university like Phoenix Online. That's a university that I see frequently. So maybe if a freight forwarder was to partner with them, then it could be an online program, and it could be done anywhere in the US. But no, nobody's really telling me why they aren't doing it. So I'm speculating and guessing that that's the reason.
Yeah, it's interesting because I keep seeing a lot of posts with people sharing that they've had apprenticeships in the past, and it's very helpful. But is that a big cost to a forwarding company to have that kind of a program? Could it be a cost thing, or what are your thoughts?
So many years ago, I actually attempted to build it was called the Global Logistics Training Center. Freight forwarders told me, if you build it, we will come. So I built it and invested a lot of money into it, and ended up losing personally about $250,000 because freight forwarders simply didn't come. In Q1, they wanted to wait to see what the Q1 results were. In Q2, if the results weren't good, they didn't want to spend the money. If the results were good, they didn't want to spend the money. In Q3, everybody was on vacation. And in Q4, everybody was in peak season. And so I sat down with the CEO of a very, very large company. And he asked me, Bill, why would I want to train my employees so they can go work somewhere else? And I said to him, is that the scariest scenario in all of this? And he said, yeah, because of the competition, people would be picking up my people. Companies would be picking up my people. And I said, well, I've got a scarier scenario for you. How about you don't train them and they stay with you? So, people will often look at the cost of education and think, that it's expensive. But I think you need to look at the cost of education and realize the benefits you get from it, given the high turnover that we see in freight forwarding, the mistakes that we see people making in freight forwarding.
I was just about to say that, the mistakes.
So there is a cost of not training people.
Now, let me ask you this. I know that the market's exploding. I see it everywhere. And I'm seeing quite a bit of new people being added to Logitalent, which is amazing. So congratulations on that. But what is Logitalent doing to handle all your clients' companies' hiring needs? What are you guys doing today?
We're doing the same as them. We're hiring. So we're adding recruiters. We're up to 12. We just had a new recruiter start with us. Sorry, 2 new recruiters started with us on Monday. We have another recruiter starting with us next Monday, which will take us to 13. And we're looking for more. Our recruiter needs are incredibly specific. We've got a lot of years experience in evaluating what a great freight forwarding recruiter looks like. And, there was a time that we were very stuck on that they had to have previous freight forwarding experience. Well, as a company, between us, we've got over 100 years of freight forwarding experience. So we can teach people that. The element that we can't necessarily teach is that desire, that hunger, that level of motivation. Those things tend to be, inherent with the individuals. And so we've kind of taken a little bit of a different approach. We've actually been recruiting recruiters. So the hunters are out there, hunting the hunters. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, and what I've noticed too, and what I'm listening in the market is that there's just not enough qualified people. There's people, but we really want to get those qualified individuals in the correct place. And Logitalent is doing the screening prior to placing, because as you said, a mistake can be very expensive. Yeah. So what kind of things is Logitalent taking to assist forwarders in that?
So we've always had a very, very close relationship with our client companies, and we know them all very, very individually. We know them. We know their management style. We know their culture. We know everything down to their benefits, right? And so when we talk to a client company about an individual, they may want, let's say, an ocean import agent, and we may say, okay, so what does an ocean import agent look like, in your environment? What is a typical day? What is a typical week? What kind of business are they handling? Are they handling the life of the file? So we really, really, skinny it down. And then when we're screening candidates and interviewing candidates, and we may interview candidates, our interview might be tougher than the client company's interview, because they're not engaging us so that we can go onto LinkedIn or on Indeed and scrape up some resumes and flip resumes at them. They want to see qualified candidates. So that's the goal at Logitalent, is to present extremely well qualified candidates that have made it through our interview process. And in our interview process, if we would hire them, we'll attempt to place them. So, that's what we're doing. And staying very, very close to the client company, because things do change, which is why it's very important for us to know what are they doing in terms of the onboarding, what are they doing in terms of the training, so that we can reassure the candidate that this is not just a great opportunity for today, but it's a great opportunity for the future because of the career pathing that the client company is doing.
Agreed. Okay. So it seems we're a long way before we see really a collaborative between forwarders to address a collective training needs and talent shortage issues, obviously. But we'll have to revisit that topic in future podcasts because we're just trying to hopefully get more attention. But next week we'll be talking about women in logistics. That's something that's very important, and where we are with that. Where we are with that as an industry, and where we need to go from there. So I think this would be a good and maybe that good old boy network that's within our industry. So that's going to be really interesting with women in logistics. So for the next 2 podcasts, we're going to be focusing on women in logistics. Is there anything that you want to kind of hold us over until before our next podcast, or any type of feedback?
We've now hit on one of my absolute all-time favorite subjects, women in logistics. One of my all-time favorite subjects. I have taken a specific interest in this. There are, several women in logistics, some that own their own freight forwarding companies that I mentor on a weekly basis, to help them advance. We're reaching a really, really interesting time in logistics, because let me leave this out there, because this is maybe a little bit controversial, and I may be turning off a whole bunch of male listeners, but I think women are way better suited to logistics than men. So we can pick up on that next week and talk about that. But I think we've got a topic now for next week and the week after, and maybe for weeks to come. So great topic, Mitchell. Love that one.
I think it's great. I think this is going to be nice. So next week, looking forward to it. I know you're very busy, Bill. I know we're all kind of trying to scramble around and get the right people placed. By the way, I love the shirt. I'm excited to see your shirt next week. I'll wear a flowered shirt for you so we can match. But again, Bill, this has been great. One more last question. Again, people are sending me messages and emailing me directly. Can you please give us your information one more time so people can contact you directly?
Sure. Anybody that needs that would like information about our services, anybody that is interested in making a career move, not people who are looking for jobs, but people who are looking to develop their career with great companies, they can reach out to me, and it's Bill Paul, BILLPAUL at Logitalent, LOGITALENT.com. Bill Paul at Logitalent.com.
That's great. Okay, so next week we come back with women in logistics, and the question is, are one better than the other? Are we all the same? Mr. Bill Paul will tell us. Thank you, Bill, for your time, and we will tonight. Anything else you want to say real quick?
Well, I'll give an opinion on it. I can't state, I can't be absolutely sure that I'm stating fact, but I'll give some numbers to support why I think, and I'll give some facts and information to support why I think women are better suited to logistics than men.
Well, I think that's an incredible topic to leave it off, and I guess we will connect again next week. Does that sound well?
Sounds fantastic. Thanks, Mitchell.
Thank you, Bill. Be well.
Have a great week.
You too. Bye-bye.